the consent calendar. Is there a member of the public that would like to comment on these items? Anything in the consent calendar? Okay, with that, do we have a motion to approve items on the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes by unanimous vote. I'm going to move to the business calendar. And please be advised that the action of the Planning Commission is final following consent of the City Council unless, if allowed by the Santa Ana Municipal Code, an appeal to the City Council is filed with the Clerk of the Council and a copy is sent to the Planning Department within 10 days from the date of the Commission's action or unless set for public hearing by the City Council. An appeal from a decision or requirement of the Planning Commission may be made by any interested party, individual, or group. So we're going to move to item number 1, which is the site plan review, number 2017-02, to allow the construction of a mixed-use development project located at 421 North Harbor Boulevard. Do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Okay, staff will now make a presentation on this item.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, Chairperson, members of the Planning Commission. This request in front of us is for site plan review approval for this property located at 421 North Harbor. The proposed project is for a mixed-use development consisting of 94 residential units and approximately 11,000 square feet of commercial retail space within a 4-story building. A total of 236 parking spaces with 25 bicycle parking spaces will also be provided, which are way exceed minimum code requirements. The reason why this is in front of you tonight is because of the height of the building. Within the Harbor Mixed-Use Corridor specific plan, any structure over 4 stories in height requires Planning Commission site plan review approval. This property is located in the Harbor Mixed-Use Corridor specific plan area and is surrounded by commercial and residential uses. Here's the image of the property. The property is currently vacant. This property has been used for various industrial, commercial uses over the years, but now it's currently vacant. Here's the image of the site plan. It's a wrapped project, so the building will be located between Harbor and 5th Street, and there will also be a frontage on Figueroa. The primary entry will be off Harbor Boulevard, which is, if you look at the image, will be to the bottom of this image. Here's an open space plan that shows the proposed open space area. Here's an image of the elevations. The proposed architectural style is California contemporary. This will be in keeping with the characters of the project that are currently under construction along Harbor Boulevard. This project will be in keeping with the 7 projects that are currently under construction along Harbor Boulevard, according to the Harbor Mixed-Use Corridor specific plan. And the proposed project, excuse me, my voice is going away, will not be detrimental to the harmonious development of the city. And this project is in conformity with the North Harbor specific plan. Staff is recommending approval of site plan review number 27-2 as conditioned in the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Becerra?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did this project ever go before the Planning Commission's design subcommittee?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner,
Whatever my name is, yeah, McLaughlin, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
sorry about
Question is, the street that's, the front of the project I see is Harbor,
Yes.
and then the back side of that is, what street is that? I can't really read.
Is, let me go back to this plan. So this project site is surrounded by 3 streets. So to the bottom of that image is Harbor Boulevard, and to the
Right.
left is 5th Street, and then to the north is, from this image, but north actually goes this way, is Figueroa.
It's what, I'm sorry?
Figueroa?
Figueroa, okay. So when the Harbor corridor was put together, development project, there were a couple of concerns, and I'm looking at this on the Figueroa side, and it looks as though the east side of Figueroa is predominantly residential.
Yes.
Okay, and there was a discussion as to why people wanted three stories versus 4 stories, because it was based on shadowing. And so my question is, whether it's 4 stories or 3 stories, height-wise, is there a height limit, and how much over the height limit is this?
Well, under the Harbor Mixed Use Corridor, the city prepared an environmental analysis which the 3-story building is permitted by right.
Correct.
And anything over 3 stories is subject to site plan review, approval by Planning Commission. All the impact, shadow impact was then analyzed in the environmental impact report. Some of the areas are even, like the transit nodes area, you can go up to 10 stories. So they're different intensity based on the location of along Harbor Boulevard.
Right, I understand that. I'm just asking, the discussion was based on shadowing and residential, and the residential people had, in fact, been, shall we say, opposed to anything over 4 feet in most of the residential areas, or 4 stories.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to get an understanding of where we are. If it's 3 stories, how high can they go? If it's 4 stories, how high is this facility?
I
So,
would.
I mean, are we talking about the difference of 2 feet, or are we talking about the difference of 20 feet? That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes, I would defer this question to the project applicant, and I would get back to you after I review the Harbor document.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
That's fine.
Commissioner Hernandez. Oh, okay. Commissioner Contreras-Lamb?
The colors that were shown, are those the actual colors?
Yes.
And what side is that? Is that the back side of where the parking lot is, or is that the actual corner of Harbor and Figueroa?
The image on top is the corner of Harbor and 5th. And the image below is the Figueroa 5th.
What security measures are there going to be so that the bottom floor folks, do they have an actual patio, the bottom ground? I can't tell from the picture.
Are you talking about the units that are fronting?
On the first floor?
Yes. Yes.
They have patios?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so is there security measures to come in and out of the complex?
Actually, along they have a small security fence, but it's not. We're not encouraging very tall fence along Harbor Boulevard in the Harbor Mixed-Use Corridor specific plan. We want to be pedestrian friendly and inviting to the adjacent neighborhoods.
But how about to access the actual site itself, to go in and out of it? Is there like a gate with a code, or is it just free, anybody can walk in?
The primary entrance to the project is on Harbor Boulevard.
Okay, but
Yeah.
my question is there a security door for folks to go through? Is there a code for them to get in? Harbor and Fifth is very active with different types of situations. So I want to be sure that, there's some type of security.
Definitely, I will defer this question to the architect and to the applicant. They'll be able to answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Just as a matter of clarification, along Harbor it is commercial, at least towards the corner of Fifth and Harbor, it is commercial as opposed to residential. You were concerned predominantly about the residential units, right?
So the
That ground floor.
backside and the side are not commercial.
Right, yes.
So they're just regular units.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was your question.
That was my question.
Okay, Commissioner Becerra?
Thank you. Excuse me. Kind of going back onto what Commissioner McLaughlin asked. So I'm looking at the staff report. It says required by the municipal code, 4 stories max, provided 4-story. From what I understand from what you said, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 3 stories max, and they're asking for some sort of, variance, or maybe it's under a site plan review, they can go to the 4 stories. I just want to understand, are we granting something above and beyond, or, because from what you said and what I'm reading here, I'm a little confused.
4-story is permitted, but subject to site plan review, but it's not a variance.
So if they did not want to go 4 stories, if they did a 3-story product, would they not be before us?
That's correct. It would
But
be
because they wanted the 4 stories, so
Yes.
as of right now, by right, it would be 3 stories.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And would these have CCNRs?
These are rental units.
Rental.
Oh, the rental.
Yeah, they're
farm
rental.
Units, not owned.
Madam Chair? Just kind of,
Commissioner Becerra?
just it reminded me, I wanted to, kind of from what my colleague asked, as far as security, and I think at the end of the day, from when she was asking, I was thinking we were going to get to this point. So if I'm not a resident, I want to go into the facility to do who knows what. What prevents me from getting in?
I believe they have security measures at the entrance to the elevator to these units.
So I can get in, I just can't get into the elevators to go up.
Yes.
Okay. And then I guess, will there be a security guard on site?
I believe that's their plan, but I would like for the applicant to answer that question.
So we don't know that right now.
Yeah. It's
Nope.
not a requirement.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Thank you. Have we received any written communications on this item?
We have not.
Thank you. And if you wish, this is time for the public to speak. So if you wish to address the planning commission on this item, please file a request to speak form with the secretary. Comments are limited to 3 minutes unless an extension of time is granted by the chairperson. Would the applicant like to make a comment on this item and possibly address the security measure questions? Sure. Thank you.
Hello. First of all, I'm actually the architect of this project. I apologize. The applicant had a slight emergency, so I'm sort of subbing for him. But I was planning to be here anyway, so to answer any question. But it turns out I'm basically the star of the day. So to further elaborate from the planner. On the security issue. So this is a wrap project, meaning that basically a resident will enter a secure garage entrance, and from there, a wrap project means if you live on the 2nd floor, literally you'll drive your car to the 2nd level of the parking, and from there you enter your unit from an interior hallway. So you're concerned about security, say if you live on the 1st floor, same thing, you'll be actually driving into a secure parking gate that is separated from a commercial parking area. And from there, same way, if you, So this is actually the ground floor. As you can see, you will be entering through from Harbor, and from Harbor, the main ground floor is actually all commercial. But as you take the ramp going up, there is actually a secure gate. So if you look at your package, on the second floor, there is actually a separate gate that separating the residential and commercial. Once you're in the typical layout of the residential, there in the back of the unit, that's basically the circulation. That's how you get in and out from the parking to your unit. In regarding to the ground floor, we only have residential facing Fifth and facing Fig, and those units, they're actually designed on a stoop. It's actually conform with the SP overlay, that all the residential on the ground floor has to be designed on a higher level. It is not require a secure gate, by say, but it is designed on a higher stoop vantage point.
If I don't have a car, then how do I access?
If you don't have a car, you still can go first. If you don't have a car and you live, say, on the, if you don't have a car and you live on the floor level, may I use my laser pointer? Say that you're right across. Say you're right on this plaza right here. You'll be able to have a key control gate to enter this residential lobby right here. Take you to an elevator, and from this elevator, that will take you up to first, second, third, and floor. Vice versa, once you enter here, there is another gate that actually that you can enter through. There's actually a dedicated residential lobby, which is right. There's actually a dedicated residential lobby right over here that will take, reading it correctly, that is a gate. This is actually a residential lobby right over here, and this is blocked off for you to take this elevator up to first, second, third, and floor. Mark.
So the question I have is, for the retail side of the building, where is the parking for that? Is it part of the facility or is it on street?
No, again, this is a gate right over here. It's being secure. So all the commercial can only park here.
How many what's the?
The commercial, there are
Eight parking spaces.
yeah. It looks like 8 spaces. The point being is the commercial and the residential, they're segregated by a gate, and the resident only has a key to go into not only this level but a level above.
And are those entrances and exits both on Harbor and Figueroa? Are they two-way, in and out?
These are this you can go out. You can also go.
No,
you can go in. You can
the
go
driveways, the driving entrances. There looks like there's one on Harbor, and then there's another one on the back on Figueroa.
out. Yeah. So it's two-way. The reason, but the primary is actually going to be coming from Harbor. Yeah. So the reason being is we do have commercial along the corridor of Harbor, and the gate has to be open during business hour. So therefore, we have to keep the both gate open. for ins and out. And one of the requirement by Waste Management is they will only pick up trash coming from harbor, and this is actually the trash pickup, and they will basically drive through out, exit out of Fig.
They'll be entering trash pickup on Harbor and exiting off
Correct.
Figueroa.
Yes.
Will there be street parking on Figueroa on the property side?
Yeah, we are preserving basically the public right of way on Fig. That's correct. There will be remain. So I brought the material sample just in case you guys need to see it.
Anybody like to see the materials?
Well, my other question was, Madam Chair, if I may.
Let me get
Are
to
you
Commissioner
done?
Becerra.
No, go ahead, if you have one more.
The texture on the walls, is it just cement and you're painting them, or?
We went, and also want to elaborate on there wasn't a subcommittee, a sub-design committee, but there has been a little bit of a rigorous process when we submitted the project last year, and it went through some iteration because city had a new position, urban planner. So at the beginning of the year, the project actually has changed, I guess, for the better, working with Annie and also working with Jill. She is the urban planner. So the design originally was basically just mostly smooth plaster. As we were working with Jill, the urban planner, the product became, I would say, more or less better, because now the product actually has combination of combination of basically wood siding, smooth plaster, as well on the harbor side is actually you see all this frame. They're actually going to be framed out of basically metal siding, which is right over here, and smooth seam Lucabon, which is also right over here. The window itself actually has combination of two different kind of recess, and one is about 4-inch recess back in, another is basically about 8-inch recess back in. So the composition of the material was went through many iterations, but now it's more articulated, not only in variety of material, but also the height that you guys had concern about. The one of the concern at the very beginning, the building facing Fig was looking just like a one solid block, and now the this side of the Fig is broken down into combination of little buildings, so to speak, and varying in height, and also varying in depth. So all in all, it's a pretty substantial project, 94 unit, and the challenge was actually trying to make a building that is articulated, and also, but at the same time, making really a community for this area, up and coming area. But we were working tirelessly about trying to make, on the residential side facing Fig, try to make it a little bit more residential than actually more multifamily oriented.
Thank you. Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just so I make sure I clarify, so on the corner of 5th and Harbor, is that a clock that I see?
That is correct. That's actually designated as a public art. So it's actually in the approval package that it's been a condition as a public art during the, I guess, during construction period. We will have to solicit for our artists to basically commission that piece.
Okay, and so that answers that. The second question, so the elevations that we show underneath 5th and Harbor, I'm assuming that's 5th and Figueroa.
That is correct.
So then I guess the glass area,
Yeah.
Kind of, is that another commercial space, or what is?
Yeah, so again, this is one of the sort of design exercise with the urban planner. It was a residential, however, it got changed to basically more amenity for the community. That actually became a community fitness center.
So it's not commercial then, it's an amenity.
It's amenity, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it was going to be a residential, but we felt that the whole entire complex, it needed more than just a courtyard here.
Mm-hmm.
It needed more than just a amenity here, but amenity should be sort of spread out, evenly distributed. So therefore, there will be a pool here. There will be actually a recreational center here. There will be a fitness around the corner.
Okay. And then my last question is, do you know, I mean, I know you're the architect, but do
Yeah.
you know if the site will have a security guard?
To be honest, I cannot answer that. Most likely, I would say yes because of commercial component.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Contreras.
And I'm hoping that the actual applicant should be here any moment. So,
And what will your rental prices be for the different types of units? What's your range?
we have studio, and as of right now, they are mostly a lot of one bedroom. The mix right now is about 35 to 65%. So meaning 35 two bedroom and 65 one bedroom.
I don't know if I understood. How much are the rental?
How much would be
Range.
rented for?
Yeah, I mean, the price.
Price,
If I
okay.
want to go rent the two-bedroom, what am I
Yeah.
looking at? Are
As high as
folks-
I want. No, just kidding.
They won't
I,
rent them, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
It's not the
yeah.
applicant.
Okay.
I think that I think this is going to be a pretty desirable area, and that's why we're putting out a good product for the city of Santa Ana. The finishes that we have brought forward is not just your cheap stucco with scratch coat. It's everything is going to be high end and done. Yeah.
Commissioner Alvarez, did you have a
Oh,
question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that as I'm looking at this, it reminds me of the site on Third and Broadway, the Artist Village Apartments. Looks
Yeah.
a lot like them. I used to live there, so it reminds me a lot of it.
Yeah.
I like it. I just want to commend you and the company for supporting the reinvestment in distressed areas. You know, I see a lot of this happening in Anaheim, and I think those buildings are beautiful, and I'm supportive of this project, and I'd like to move to support SPR number 2017-2.
Okay, hang on, we'll get to that. I need to just ask for the public comments, and then we'll get to the vote. But I think we're done, right, with the applicant or the representative. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We're going to open up a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we're going to come around back and close public hearing, and I will now take your motion.
You want to repeat it, or-
Please, if you would repeat your motion.
I'd like to make a
Thank you.
motion to approve SPR number 2017-2.
I'll second it with comments.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Commissioner Becerra?
And I might be revoking my second in a second. I'm not that impressed, excuse me, I'm not that impressed with the corner of Fifth and Harbor. It looks very blank. It looks as if like we had two building blocks that just kind of met accidentally at that corner. And then when I look at what's on the Fifth and Figueroa side, it's even more emblematic of two building blocks that just kind of met accidentally, and we're stuck with that. I feel like there could be a tweak or two that could be done to make these work. And the design's great. I mean, it's very contemporary. It looks quality, but it just seems like those two corners are lacking. It just doesn't seem, for being on Harbor Boulevard, this isn't tucked off a side street where you can get away with maybe a little less architectural feature. At least on the Fifth and Harbor side, there should be a little more. That's why I'd asked if it went to a design review committee for some discussion, because in looking at it, it looks bland in my humble opinion. So with that, I'll be taking back my second at this point. Thank you.
Madam Chair, are we able to recommend?
Well, right now I have a motion for approval on the, as recommended. I don't have a second yet, so I will entertain a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Did you have a subsequent motion?
Yes, that perhaps we can send it to the Review and Design Committee for a final review.
So you're recommending a continuance with a,
Referral to the
Referral.
Review and Design Committee.
is that acceptable, Lisa? On a
I would
subsequent
second
motion?
that.
Yes.
I would second that.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second on a continuance and a referral. I have a motion and a second. Let's take a motion on the first. Before we do that, though, I'd like to comment that this corner has been an eyesore for quite some time, so I'm pleased to see that there is going to be a development project in this area of town. It's much needed, and I think it's going to add a definite, a good addition to the Harbor Specific Plan. Do I have any
Well,
other comments?
I would
on-
just, I would just say I agree with you that that corner has been dead for a long time. So I'm excited that this is coming through, but I think that we can do a little better on it. But I'm excited what it is coming through.
Any other comments?
I think I don't know why this project have not been go with the design review subcommittee. At least some of us could able have some comment, go through more detail of design with our comment on it. But anyway, in my opinion, this project fit well with Harbor Mixed-Use Transit Corridor Pacific Plan in our city. And for that, the development of along Harbor Boulevard is very, very important to the city, like connecting Santa Ana to the Garden Road and eventually to Disneyland. And anything design will be on Harbor Boulevard should be make all of us to be proud of that product of Santa Ana. And I would support with the project go over with the design review subcommittee for input first, and then we're more than happy to go and take a little time. I do know the time is money, but I think we should have a little bit input on it before the final approval.
Okay, so Commissioner Nguyen, you seconded the motion for recommended action, which would mean if that is approved, it would not be referred to the design committee.
So do you want to rescind your second?
So you can rescind your second, and
Yes.
I'll ask another commissioner for a second,
Yes, I would like to present my second and would support
and you'll support the second motion.
That's correct.
Okay, so now I still have a motion on the table for approval as recommended,
Second.
and I have a second now from Commissioner
Right,
McLaughlin.
and my question to staff is that, if we continue this, are we continuing it for 30 days or 60 days? Because what's the practicality that we're gonna be able to go in, have a design review, change the drawings, do everything else? I mean, what, are we looking at 2 months, or are we looking at a month from this date? Because, time is money, and we can't continue to screw around with developers for, little things that may or may not be, taken care of at this point in time to one or two individuals. Sorry, but that's the way I see it.
We could schedule an off-cycle meeting next week with the Design Review Committee. So it would be on a Monday, perhaps, if the members were available.
Monday's a holiday.
Pardon me?
Monday's
Monday's a holiday.
Oh, that's right. You're right. We could do it on Tuesday then, if people
Tuesday's
are
council.
available. Pardon?
Tuesday's council, so.
I know, but it would be,
No, I know,
that's
I
a
know, but I'm just saying
subcommittee,
Tuesday's
so we'd be
council.
up in the chamber. We'd be up in our large conference room on the second floor is where we typically would hold them. And then you could continue this item directly just for 2 weeks to the first meeting in June. Yeah. which is June 6th, I believe.
It's June 12th.
I am available on Tuesday,
We
the
just,
30th.
the discussion earlier is June 12th.
Oh, it's June 12th. That's council's June 6th. Okay, so we would continue it till June
So
12th.
continue it for one
For
commission.
one cycle. And in that interim, we should be able to find a date for the subcommittee to meet that would be convenient for the members as well as the applicant.
Okay.
That would be as long as the applicant wouldn't need time to go back and have to redesign.
It could be, but the applicant does have some drawings that he's not able to show you tonight, but that have more detail, and he might be able to.
May I walk up and just speak with you?
No, not really.
Yeah, we're
It
really
has to
kind
be
of-
able to be presented to the public.
Voting mode.
So unfortunately, if we don't, but he will come to that meeting prepared with three-dimensional designs of those perspectives of those corners, so that the subcommittee can have a better idea of what's being presented in those locations, and if they need to make any directions. And staff can also knows that your concerns are regarding the corners in particular, those two corners in particular, and we will take another look at it as well before that meeting and provide him with any direction necessary.
Thank you. Okay, so right now I have a original motion to approve as recommended, and I have a second from Commissioner McLaughlin. We're going to vote on that item. If that does not pass, then we'll go on to the subsequent. If that item passes, then we will not vote on the second item, on the second motion. So all those in favor?
Aye.
No,
Any opposed?
Aye.
wait, you're voting on the first motion.
The first
Right, the
motion.
first one it's
not So-
going to the review.
Right.
Right, so I'm
So-
saying no to that.
So I've got
No, no,
three
you-
for ayes. Now we're taking opposition to the motion. So
So, no.
Commissioner Becerra, no.
No.
Commissioner Contreras-Leo, no. Commissioner Nguyen, no.
No, that's fine.
So now we have the subsequent motion, which is to continue the item until the meeting on the 12th, which would then have a design review committee meeting next week. Is that acceptable to the applicant? Yeah. So I have a motion and a second on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Abstention.
You're abstaining from the second vote?
Abstention.
Okay, so
For
I
what
have.
reason?
I'm sorry?
Well, if you abstain, what's your
I mean,
reason?
because your concern was the location, and then someone else brought up the design, so.
You
I'm
could
not
just, if you
So
no
you'd
vote,
vote no.
it just means you're
Oh.
not going
Oh,
to
got it,
approve
okay.
the subsequent motion.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so
no.
no on Commissioner Mendoza, no on Commissioner Verino, and I have a yes from Commissioner Nguyen, yes from Commissioner McLaughlin, a yes from Commissioner Contreras-Leo, and yes from Commissioner Becerra. So therefore, this second motion passes by a vote of 4-2. So we will see you back here in a couple weeks in the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to item number 2, which is the review of public art plan for the 301 development located at 301 East Jeanette Lane. And do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Okay, staff will make a presentation on this item.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. The item before you this evening deals with review of the public art plan for the 301 development at 301 East Jeanette Lane. I call your attention to the PowerPoint slide behind you here that kind of illustrates what the 301 will ultimately look like. It is currently under construction and anticipated certificate of occupancy would be in August of this year. So we travel back in time with me here. About 3.5 years ago, back in 2013, there was a site plan review approval similar to Ann's project here tonight, which required a public art component as part of this development. 182-unit multifamily project with a 4-story structure over 2 levels of podium parking. As I mentioned, they're anticipated to open in August of 2017. SPR, which is Site Plan Review 2013-05, contained a condition of approval requiring the Planning Commission to approve the public art component as part of this development, and that's the reason why we're before you this evening. This is kind of an isometric view, artist rendering of the site plan. As you see, the project covers the majority of the site, and there's 2 large internal courtyards facing Jeanette Lane. The project itself is just on the northeast corner of Main and City Place Drive. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the City Place development. So this is that last missing piece of the puzzle as part of the development that was originally entitled and approved in 1993, I want to say. The entitlements were approved in 2004, which allowed the construction that's there today. And then this last project, the 301, is under construction, as I mentioned. The subject, as I said, tonight is the public art piece. Again, on the PowerPoint presentation, you see the little red dot indicating the location for the public art itself to be placed in that easterly courtyard at Lawson and Jeanette, which is the most publicly accessible intersection, since the building itself is almost at the PL. There is some landscaping there, which we'll go through. The applicant has commissioned a local Santa Ana artist by the name of Brett Price. Mr. Price specializes in steel sculpture manipulation, so all types of steel sculptures, and I believe the applicant has brought kind of a sample of the artist's work and some other renderings. His art has been featured throughout Southern California, including the Orange County Museum of Art, the Chapman University, Pomona College, Long Beach Museum of Art, and various local cities. The art piece before us this evening, on behalf of the artist, he can speak to it, I'm sure, in much more detail, symbolizes the movement of the Santa Ana winds, a local weather phenomenon. This is a quick specification of the actual art piece, which is a total of 10 feet in height. It's kind of oblong in shape and is about 11 feet wide with a 3-foot base at the bottom. So in totality, it'll be 10 feet high with 11 feet wide for the piece. As I mentioned, it's located at the front entrance, visible from both Jeanette Lane and Lawson Way. This is kind of a zoomed-in version of that easterly courtyard. Again, the red rectangular box illustrates the location of the art piece at the sidewalk and then the project's prime entrance location to the community space. The piece itself is comprised of stainless steel and is going to be set atop a concrete pedestal with accent uplighting for the evening hours. There's a few art piece renderings. I'm sure the applicant also has some boards that they'd like to present to you. These are just 2 views. Both of them are from Jeanette Lane at different angles. They kind of show the piece itself, the features of the concrete base with that colored concrete, and then the inclusion of the uplighting at its base. When we're looking at public art pieces, we do an analysis, and the first component is the cost or the value of the art piece itself. The overall project valuation rendered a minimum value of $97,500, which is 0.5% of the overall project's building valuation, which is in your staff reports there. That equates to under $100,000, $97,500, and we've received a quote from the artist that totals $165,300, which is in excess of the minimum requirements of $97,500. Hopefully that was clear. So the title of the piece, Windswept, invites meaning as it represents a local climate event, our Santa Ana winds, which I'm sure you've all experienced. I know I have. The art itself is a single piece. Sometimes with these art plans, we have multiple pieces. This particular one is a singular piece, and it is intended to complement the building's rectilinear architecture. It's a modern style architecture, as you saw on that first slide, which I'd be happy to go back to. As I mentioned again, the piece is comprised of stainless steel and colored concrete to match the building. And as with other public art, the city is requiring doesn't allow any sort of signs or advertising on the piece itself. This piece does have a small plaque, I believe, in the footnotes that you'll see with the artist's name, which is, of course, acceptable. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the public art plan for the 301 in compliance with the original site plan review 2013-05. There's no official public hearing this evening. This is just showing compliance with the condition of approval as was requested in 2013. That concludes my presentation. I'm open to any questions at this time.
Thank you, Bernie. Any questions of staff on this item?
No.
Thanks. It says that we're not having a public hearing on it, so I don't need to open it up. Okay, yeah. That's what it's okay. Okay, so since there's no public hearing, are there any comments, or I will entertain a motion on this item? Commissioner Becerra?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the item in front of us.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adopt a resolution approving the public art plan for 301. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That item is unanimously approved. We'll move on to item number 3. This is the public hearing on conditional use permit number 2017-10 to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption at Doe Lunch Deli Restaurant located at 901, or Do Lunch Deli Restaurant located at 901 West Civic Center Drive, Unit 150. Do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose on this item?
Yes.
Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I happened to receive an email from the applicant, Mr. Doyle, on March 20th. He had a couple of questions, which I then referred to planning staff.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. And staff will now make a presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Madam Chair and Planning Commissioners. Before you, we have conditional use permit item number 2017-10 for the restaurant Do Lunch Deli located at 901 West Civic Center Drive, Unit 150. The project before you is for an CUP conditional use permit alcohol license type 41 at an existing eating establishment. At this time, there are no proposed construction or square footage addition. The site is located in one of our specific developments, specific development number 20. It is surrounded by single-family residential to the north. To the east, we have commercial center, and to the south, we have the Santa Ana Stadium. Here's a site plan of the existing property, and in the red star is the location of the restaurant. And here's a floor plan of the existing restaurant, and in red is the alcohol portion which will be displayed in the back of the restaurant. And here is the current site photo of the property. The business is actually right behind the monument sign, 901 West Civic Center, and it's currently the project meets all the Santa Ana Municipal Code standards. The restaurant will provide an additional service to the existing residents and the visitors to the city of Santa Ana. And then Centers for the On-Premise Alcohol Consumption will guarantee that the license will not become a nuisance to the community and its surrounding neighbors. With that, staff recommends approval of conditional use permit 2017-10. I am here for any additional questions, and we also have the applicant Brian here behind me. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions or comments of staff? Thank you. Did we receive any communications regarding this item?
We did not.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Mendoza has a question. Lisa. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When we approve these permits, do we check if they have a health permit? I know that some of these stores, including Santa Ana, have been shut down because they didn't have a health permit. Do we check for that when we approve these?
Of course.
Not as part of this permit, but we do as regular certificate of occupancies. So it wouldn't be, so you can ask the applicant, I believe he's here tonight, and whether or not he has one,
Okay. The
At
reason I
this
asked
time.
was because there's a restaurant near that location that was just shut down or closed because they didn't have a
Okay.
permit, so.
Is that the, I have a question.
Commissioner Wu?
I thought for requirement for the eating establishment required approval by the Orange County Environmental Health Department for the approval before they get open. Does that requirement go along with the city planning approval or CUP?
That, it doesn't run concurrently with the CUP process, but it is part of our occupancy permit process. So before we would sign off on their occupancy permit for the building or their business license that goes in conjunction with the business, it's a later administrative function. It's after all the construction has been done and they're ready to move into the building. At that time we'd be looking at those things.
But also the health department have their own requirement and the inspections and all that stuff, right?
That
They
is
have
yes.
requirement concurrent with the city requirements and all that?
Right. We would require them to provide proof of their health department permits before they'd occupy.
Thank you.
There's no other questions. Commissioner Eldred?
So what are the current hours of operation?
I think the applicant is here and he can answer that question for you.
8 p.m.
Right.
Yeah. Are we ready?
No,
Go, Brian, go ahead and come on up. I have a speaker card from you anyway, so.
Okay, so
Welcome to
originally my
comment.
hours were 7 to 4. I'm switching those hours to 10 to 6. I mainly want to be out before sun's down.
Okay, all right. I think, so the reason why I brought it up is that based off what I know of the city, it seems like an odd location for an alcohol license. That's it, because I think what you're serving mostly is people that work in the downtown, if I'm wrong.
Lawyers, judges, and jurors. It's right across the street from the courthouse.
Yes, right, so I'm
What
I'm just saying lawyers. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
what typical customers seem to say is
Drinking during,
after jury duty, after the day's done and they're heading home, they don't want to sit in traffic. They've had a long day. For the football stadium themselves, the parents have to drink off-site in the parking lot. This would just give them a venue to where they wouldn't have to drink in a parking lot. And I know the Santa Ana high school coaches are very excited for the idea. They also want to run different events at the restaurant. And what they've kind of explained is the parents want the alcohol.
yeah, no, I get it. I'm a parent.
Of high school. High
Yes,
school
yes, of a
student.
high school, yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Brian, I just have a real quick question. So you mentioned something about that. So you're not currently open on the weekends, is that correct?
No,
You're
ma'am.
just a Monday through Friday. Is there a plan to maybe be open on the weekends, or?
What I would like to do is I'd like to invite in celebrity chefs to teach a class and do pairings, do art nights, do different special events in that aspect. But as for an actual operation being open, no, something more of an outlet to the whole idea of when I first started, and I talked to the fire marshal about it, is have different chefs come in, teach a couple of dishes, pair that with beer or wine, and make it a fun little experience.
Okay, so right now the plan is special events will be held on weekends on a kind of as
needed, yes,
basis,
not
or
all the
whenever
time.
you schedule it. Other than that, you'll still be Monday through Friday, but now 10 to 6 rather than
Correct.
7 to 4.
Correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I
Commissioner
could ask staff, so regardless of what the applicant is stating today, on his own, he could technically be open from, was it, I think, 6 a.m. to midnight, as far as not triggering any entitlements?
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Did you have any other comments? Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Would anybody from the public like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back for comments or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve number 2017 -10 to allow sale of alcohol beverages on premise for consumption at the Do Lunch Deli.
I second.
Yeah,
Lawyer said second.
No, I
but-
didn't.
He was like half.
I was teasing
He was
you.
like,
Sure you were. Yes.
I have a motion from Commissioner McLaughlin and a second from Commissioner Mendoza. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries by a unanimous vote. We're going to move on to public hearing on item number 4, which is conditional use permit 2017-15 to allow continued use of a 60-foot tall wireless facility for American Tower located at 2802 South Flower Street. Do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose in regard to this item? Okay. Have we received any written communications?
We have not.
Thank you. Well, staff will now make a presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Before you this evening is conditional use permit 2017-15 for American Tower is a mono palm renewal, and the location of the facility is at 2802 South Flower Street. As stated, this is a renewal for a wireless facility. It's an existing 60-foot mono palm. That's the screening that we have present for this location, and it's actually located in the back of the Saddleback High School campus, as you'll see in a site plan that's provided. American Tower will be replacing all 60. Well, in addition to the existing fronds, they'll be replacing a total of 16 fronds with the Mexican palm frond style, which will actually match the 2 existing mature palms, Mexican palms that are on the site, along with the 3 cedar trees that help screen the facility. So as mentioned, the application requires an issuance of a new CUP. This is a aerial image of the actual Saddleback High School, where the football and track, just to the right of that, the arrow is pointing to the site location of the facility. And the Saddleback High School is located in the open zone O zoning district. It is also surrounded by industrial uses to the east, residential uses to the west, north, and south. And then there is also a railroad corridor to take notice just south of the school there. So that creates some sort of separation buffer. So this is a site plan, and to the right of that image is a little more detail to it. I've clouded it in a red cloud just to show you the location in reference to the streets. And in the detailed site plan, you'll notice in the center, that's the actual monopole, and then to the south of that is where the enclosure and all the equipment is located. So keep in mind, all this is existing. It's just for the re-entitlement of the facility. This is an elevation view, and it's the best that I could get to show you kind of that the facility is enclosed with existing mature landscaping. We do have the 2 mature Mexican fan palms, and then the cedar trees, which I'll show you in an image right after, have already been maintained and trimmed to guarantee that all the debris and trash has been cleared from the site. And this is an image, a site photo of the facility. One of the Mexican fan palms, sorry, I get distracted with that, is right in front of the actual facility, so it kind of helps screen. But if you can imagine a fully mature palm tree will help screen, and it's not really noticeable because of the distance to the public right-of-way on Flower. And as I stated before, this project requires a new conditional use permit to extend the life of the monopole for an additional 10 years. And then minor site upgrades, as mentioned, with the new fronds, will help the facility meet all the standards of the Santa Ana Municipal Code. And with that, staff concludes the presentation and recommends approval of conditional use permit number 2017-15 as conditioned. I am available for any further questions, as well as the applicant from American Tower. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, staff? Commissioner Mendoza?
My question is, I know in some previous ones that we have approved, some of the applicants have been before us for a period that has not exceeded even beyond the 10 years. This one was approved in 1999. Was it one that we caught, or did they just come to you?
Go ahead if you need.
There was at first we had 5-year increments, and so they sort of And then midterm, we switched to 10, so it got a little bit off in terms of how we processed it. But this one is coming to the end of its extension.
Okay, Commissioner Becerra?
Thank you, thank you, Madam Chair. So currently, with the way the site looks, it looks like the fronds are kind of shorter than the equipment. And from what you showed, I think it was like Exhibit 5, at least in our report. So the new fronds will actually extend beyond the equipment.
Yes, and the antennas will be painted to match, so it'll look as natural as a monopole can look or seem.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions, staff? Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to speak on this item?
Good evening, Commissioners and audience members. My name is John Bitterly. I'm the project representative for American Towers. We reviewed the conditions of approval and we agree with them completely.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing at this time. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing, bring it back for any comments, questions, or a motion.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Nguyen?
I would like to motion to adopt resolution to approve condition use permit 2017-15 as condition.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We're going to move on to item number 5, which is the negative declaration environmental review 2017-24, general plan amendment number 2017-01, and amendment application 2017-01 to allow a zone change for the Aqua Permanent Supportive Housing Project located at 317 East 17th Street. Do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose in regard to this item? Okay. Have we received any comments?
We have not.
Thank you. The staff will now make a presentation.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. The applicant, Community Development Partners, is requesting approval of a general plan amendment and amendment application in order to construct a permanent supportive housing project, which would include 57 residential units. Of those units, 56 would be designated as affordable to individuals earning at or below 60% of the area median income, and there would be 1 unit designated for the on-site property management, along with parking spaces, supportive services provided by Mercy Housing, and community spaces for dining, living, gym, computer, training, and open space. Previously, in April, the City Council authorized the Housing Authority to provide 25 project-based vouchers, which would help subsidize the rents for these units. It was also reviewed by the Housing Authority, and the developer was service provider Mercy House was interviewed by a panel and selected to receive these vouchers. Also, I'd like to add that in June, the City Council is looking at awarding 31 additional vouchers to this developer for the site, and the developer is also applying for state financing, which the application is due at the end of June. The project site is at 317 East 17th Street. The nearest cross streets are Spurgeon and 17th Street. The existing land use designations are split in both the land use and zoning between a commercial and residential, which I'll go into later on the slides for the general plan amendment and the zone change. The surrounding uses, it's immediately adjacent to the I-5 freeway to the north and to the east. There's commercial uses to the east and residential to the west. The site is a little bit less than 1 acre, and currently there's an existing motel on the site. So here's an aerial photo to give some context as to where the project lies within the city. Site photos of the existing motel, which is a use that we see throughout the city that isn't actually being utilized as best as it could be for the property. Here's the site plan in which you can see that it's an irregularly shaped lot. It's very narrow at the frontage on 17th Street, gets a little bit wider, narrows, and then gets widened again. So the site plan was configured around the shape of the lot. I'll walk us through the ground level of the project and then the upper levels. So at 17th Street, there's a front lobby which residents could enter into and go up into the elevators to the residential floors. The commercial spaces are oriented towards 17th Street, and I'm sorry, they're not commercial. It would be the community centers for the on-site residents, not for outside residents, and service provider offices, the dining room, living room, and open space areas. And then as you go to the middle of the site, on the ground level is the 36 parking spaces provided in both tuck under and in an enclosed garage area, which would be accessed for residents. The parking ratio is consistent with the state law, which provides a reduced ratio for projects that are within a half mile of a major transit stop, which would be located at 17th Street and Main. And then towards the back of the lot would be the open space areas, a rear yard, which could be used for barbecues or community events, a community garden, and a residential building. On the upper levels are the residential units in buildings that are 3 and 4 stories in height. So here you can see some elevations due to the irregular shape of the lot. You get a different design of undulated buildings along the freeway side, and a variety of textures and materials will be used, plaster, cement lapboard, and lapboard that looks like a wood design, along with a green screen and different staircases to provide access to and from different levels of the building. Here are the floor plans. There would be 45 one-bedroom units and 12 studio units, ranging from 550 square feet to 450 square feet. The project requires 2 entitlements. The first one is the general plan amendment, which would change the designation of the site. Currently adjacent to 17th Street, it's zoned general commercial, and towards the rear, it's zoned medium density residential. So we'd be changing the entire site to be consistent to urban neighborhood. This provides for a mix of residential uses, and the project is also consistent with the floor area ratio designation for that land use designation. In addition, as you know, we're in the process of updating our general plan, and with that we have an envisioning map which has identified different corridors and areas in the city which potentially in the future would provide for additional densities and heights as we look at these areas and narrow it down. This one is, the 17th Street is a corridor which would potentially allow up to 6 stories in height and a maximum density of 100 dwelling units per acre. So as we refine the land use element for the general plan, this would hopefully be consistent with that and be a good transition for that urban neighborhood designation. For the amendment application, it would be doing 2 things. It would be changing the zoning map from community commercial in the front, again with that split designation, and residential, it's R3 multifamily residential in the rear. Would be changing it to specific development number 91, as well as adopting development standards which are specific to this site to allow for the construction of the supportive housing project. And with that, staff recommends, the Planning Commission recommends City Council approval of the negative declaration which was prepared for the site, the general plan amendment, and amendment application. And that concludes staff presentation. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is also here.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know where, and I want to say it might have been the OC Register or somewhere, but my understanding was that this site was going to be for homeless veterans. Is that still true?
So the population is supportive housing,
Right.
which is chronically homeless individuals, not veterans in this case. Of course, veterans could apply, but there's a different project, Jamboree Housing, which is specifically for veterans, and that's on Harbor.
Okay. And then my only other question is, what kind of supportive services will be offered on this site?
That I would defer that to the applicant. They're here, and they would be able to provide better information about what Mercy House offers. But I believe it'd be job training, case management, different services for the residents on site.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Couple of things. The Bell's Bondsman and the dentist office, that stays there? Is that-
Correct. That's not part of the project site. It's owned by a different property owner.
Okay. And you mentioned Mercy House in there. What's Mercy House's involvement with respect to this?
The service provider. So just going to the site plan, the front, there's a building in the front that's 3 stories, and within that there are different levels, so they'd actually have offices on site, availability for a conference room so that they could give the residents training, things like that. They'd also provide, if there's a barbecue that they're going to organize, anything like that.
So to go back to what Phil was asking, that's one of the service providers that's going to be.
That is the sole service provider for this project.
The sole service provider, okay.
The applicant could say whether or not they're sole. They might have other subcontractors or whatnot. I don't want to speak to that.
Okay. And you also mentioned about the state ordinance relative to parking with relationship to location to mass transit.
Mm-hmm.
How does that, I mean, is that another standard? Because that's the same statement that's used when it comes to accessory units